Dear student, myself VM Mahajan. Today we are going to learn unit number 2 of A part, buckling, classification and buckling curves and design of strut member as single angle section and double angle section. So dealing with unit number 2, introduction to compression member. Compression member is nothing but a member which is subjected to two equal and opposite compressive forces applied at its ends. Means these are the two compressive member is acting opposite sides at the ends of this element or member who is having a length L, and it is straight member and supported at ends. When compressive force is acting on both sides in the direction of opposite who is having a length L, which change in length by applying the compressive force at an amount of delta L. Means this, if you look at this length L, for example it is 2 meter, then it is changes to its less than 2 meter, for example it is 1.75 or 1.5. so whatever the changes may taking place, it is only due to the compression member or compressive force. Then what are the requirements of ideal compression member? What are the list or minimum possibilities are there for this requirement of ideal compression? First is, it must be a or maybe a perfectly straight member. Load acts uniformly over the cross section. No crookedness, no imperfection. Load acting is at the axial position or to the center of this member or element. Then classification of compression member. There are mainly three types of compression members are there. First is column, or which may also called as a stanchion member or post support floors. You might have seen that this kind of stanchion or column may be used in case of girders and subjected to heavy loads. Generally, such kind of stanchion member we have seen in girders, plate girders, where the heavy loads which is acting over this cross section. Then second type of classification is strut, which may consist of small fan, light load and truss member. So this kind of strut member generally in case of trusses, or maybe sometimes it called as a roof trusses, where the light load is there and it can be used in case of truss member. Last type of compression member is failure type. So which may taking place if that column, a long type of column, so buckling may taking place early, where in case of short column, so column may takes place by applying this compressive load, crushing may takes place. If in between long and short column intermediate columns are there, so crushing as well as aiding may takes place. Then second point is effective length of compression member. If you look at this table number 11 of page number 45 IS 800 2007. So these boundary conditions are there, which may consist of at one end, at the another end. So at one end, which may consist of translation as well as rotation. At the other end, so translation and rotation is there. Then systematic representative of typical diagram is given, and lastly last column is effective length. So some factors are given or multiplying factors are there by multiplying the length of this member. Then effective length, it is the distance between the point of contraflexure, and it is calculated using the support end conditions. So these are the some few conditions are given. For example, if you take here third case, so here hinge supports are there and both ends are fixed. So here translation may taking place restraint or control over the translation, but rotation may take place free. In case of other end, restraint at the translation may taking place and rotation at the free end may taking place. So for that we are going to take the effective length as a 1.0 times of L. And if you go through the last condition, that is 6 number, so here both ends are fixed end. So at the one end and at the another end, so translation as well as rotation may take place restraint. Restraint is nothing but the control over the member or element. So where effective length is 0.65 times of L. So this table is very important while solving the numericals on compression member. Mainly effective length of member is nothing but or equal to K into L. So that is KL value. So L is the length of member and K is a multiplying factor. So that we are going to choose or decide or select on the basis of this table number 11 of page number 45 IS 800 2007. So this K value is choose on the basis of these three types of translation or rotation. If roller supports are there or roller end conditions, so translation as well as rotation may take place. So go through this table. So first support type is roller support, and the reaction may taking place vertically upward direction and which is perpendicular to this element or member. Then second type of end support is pin rotation. So pin rotation, so there will be two reactions here there, and fixed support there will be a vertical as well as horizontal and movement may taking place. Then coming to next point, that is slenderness ratio, which denoted by the letter lambda. So slenderness ratio is nothing but the longer the compression member becomes for the same cross section, greater becomes its tendency to buckle and smaller capacity to bear load. Means slenderness ratio is nothing but if we are applying for a short column, or if you go through this first diagram, for this column is whose length is L1, so we can call it as a short column. Here there is a less chances to buckle may takes place, and it having a larger capacity to bear the load. So comparatively second figure whose length of column is L2, so it's having a lesser capacity to bear the load as compared to the first figure, because the length of column goes on increasing and bearing capacity will taking place lesser or it may decreases. If you go through the third figure whose column length is L3, here we can call it as a long column. So here it is mentioned greater becomes its tendency to buckle, means buckling of this column may taking place early, and it's having a smaller capacity to bear the load while applying the compressive forces. Then coming to next point, this tendency of buckling is measured by using a only slenderness ratio, that is lambda. So whatever the buckling in short and long column may taking place, so that can be determined by using only slenderness ratio. Then ratio of effective length to the appropriate radius of gyration is nothing but the lambda, that is slenderness ratio. So slenderness ratio, it is a ratio of effective length to the radius of gyration. So lambda is equal to KL by R, where radius of gyration always we are going to keep the minimum for certain conditions. Then lambda Z means, so whatever Z axis means along x direction, so Z axis is equal to x axis. So lambda Z is equal to KLZ divided by radius of gyration along Z direction, or it can be also denoted by lambda y, so which is equal to KLy divided by radius of gyration along y axis, where L is nothing but the unsupported length. So in order to calculate the lambda maximum, so remember that, so radius of gyration always we are going to keep minimum, then and then we are getting the value of lambda will be the maximum. If vice versa, if we are going to keep the lambda minimum, then radius of gyration will be the maximum. So this condition may applicable to built up column section for designing of less column. But in case of design of strut, single angle section and double angle section, so lambda max will be the, this condition will be applicable. So lambda maximum is equal to radius of gyration, we are going to keep the minimum. So this thing is very important, so that we are going to take in your consideration. So radius of gyration minimum, so how we are going to find out radius of gyration? So it is a ratio of, before that, under root of ratio of moment of inertia minimum divided by effective cross sectional area. So R minimum, that is radius of gyration minimum about any axis, it may be Z axis or Y axis, is equal to under root of, we are going to keep the moment of inertia minimum divided by effective cross sectional area, that is A suffix E. So therefore lambda max is equal to KL by R minimum. So we are going to follow, or we are going to refer the maximum slenderness ratio by using table number 3 of page number 20 of IS 800/2007. Then coming to next point, so what are the different types of bucklings? So classification of buckling may taking place flexural buckling, torsional buckling, and last third type is nothing but the flexural as well as torsional buckling. If you go through this I section, you might have seen that in case of railway track, so these kind of sections we are going to adapt in track. So first type of buckling is flexural buckling. So flexural buckling is nothing but the, is based on the Euler's buckling curve. So it's having a elastic in nature behavior. So it is the deflection caused by the bending, or flexure may takes place about the axis corresponding to the largest or higher slenderness ratio. Then second type of buckling is torsional buckling. So torsional is nothing but the some twist. So it is the twisting about thin wall or member, or which is also called as a element rather than the bending. So there is a little bit amount of twisting of this member may takes place in case of this particular I section. So that is nothing but the torsional buckling. Last third point, that is flexural torsional buckling. Member which bends and twists simultaneously, means here the bending as well as twisting of member may taking place simultaneously, and this occurring only with the unsymmetrical cross section. So for example, if you take the one example related to channel, T section, angle section, so such kind of torsional as well as bending may taking place. So the type is known as a flexural torsional buckling. Next, that is buckling classification as per the geometry of cross section. You might have seen that there are different types of cross sections are there. So we can call it as a circular, square, equal, unequal angle section, symmetrical, unsymmetrical eye section. The first type based on the shape of cross section. So due to the arrangement of this cross section with different elements or member which having a same cross sectional area and slenderness ratio of different members behaves differently. So depending upon the slenderness ratio, so it may be short column, long column and radius of gyration. So accordingly we are going to take as a minimum or maximum. Then second buckling classification is presence of residual stresses. So you might have seen that. So such kind of member we are going to adopt in generally where the steel element we are going to use. For example, railway tracks. So these stresses may adopt or develop due to the differential cooling after the hot rolling. If you produce or manufacture during, so tremendous amount of heat may generates and where the stresses will taking place. If sudden cooling of this member may takes place, so stresses may induce in that element. So that classification is nothing but the presence of residual stresses. Third type of classification of buckling is effect of bow member, is nothing but the imperfection and curve length, that is reduce in strength. So such kind of member we are going to adopt in the joining of two members or in case of curve in length. So due to adopting such kind of members, so there is a imperfection and by adopting such, so strength may reduces. And last type, that is effect of eccentricity of load, is nothing but the load which acting other than the CG of the load. CG of the load. Then this topic which may consist of the some type of buckling curves we are going to study. So first type of buckling curve is Euler's buckling curve and it is only applicable to ideal condition or ideal column. If you go through this neighborhood figure, so where stress is nothing but the load divided by the cross sectional area, that is P divided by A, is acting along y direction and perpendicular to the slenderness ratio where LE is effective length divided by radius of gyration. So Euler's buckling load is denoted by the P suffix C, or we can call it as a P is equal to pi square EI divided by KL square, where pi value we know that is 3.14. E is a modulus of elasticity 2 into 10 to the power 5 and I is moment of inertia and divided by KL is nothing but the effective length, where I is equal to area into radius of gyration square. So Euler's buckling load is equal to, by substituting all values, as we are going to find out the FA value, that is P divided by cross sectional area, that is Euler's buckling load divided by area. Then by substituting these values of modulus of elasticity 2 into 10 to the power 5 Newton per mm square, or it can be measured in terms of MPa, where FA or Fy value is 250 MPa. So we have got the value, that is slenderness ratio KL by R is equal to exactly 88.87. So near about we are going to take this value as a 89. So for these values, if KL by R slenderness ratio is less than 89, then the column is known as or acts as a short column. While this value is greater than the 89, then this column is called as a long column, and such kind of columns are applicable only by using the Euler's formula for only long columns. So where next type of curve is called as a European column curves, or shortly it called as a ECC curve. So ECC curve is nothing but as the Euler buckling curve is applicable for only ideal column. Some European researchers have made a result based on the experiments and propose the different buckling curves corresponding to mainly 4 classification of section. So these curves are called as a ECC or European column curves. So refer to this figure. So where FCD is design compressive stress divided by Fy. So ratio along y-axis with respect to lambda along the slenderness ratio along x-axis, means here lambda goes on increasing. So at particular 0.5 value of lambda, so ratio of FCD divided by Fy will be the maximum, and where European column curve has given 3 types of curve. So curve number A, B, C, D. So likewise the value may take in place. Then design compressive stress cannot be Fy, means 250 Newton per mm square or MPa, and the reduction factor may taking place to the Fy. So this factor is called as a CHI, CHI, and it is very difficult to quantify and measure. Then values of design compressive stress denoted by the FCD for different class of cross section are given in table number 9A, 9B, 9C and 9D. If you go through the page number IS 800 2007, page number from 40 to 43, so we'll get the table number 9A, B, C, D. Then next point is imperfection factor, that is denoted by the alpha. So this alpha is based on the buckling class. If we are selecting the class A, B, C, D, so alpha value, that is known as an imperfection factor, is having the different values according to our class. For class A 0.21 value, class B 0.34 value, and class C 0.49, and lastly for class D it is 0.76. So design compressive stress FCD is equal to, it is a ratio of Fy divided by gamma m0 whole divided by phi plus square bracket phi square minus lambda square bracket complete whole raised to 0.5, or it takes place in under root also. So this factor is called as a CHI, CHI, means 1 divided by phi plus phi square minus lambda square whole bracket raised to 0.5. So that factor is called as a CHI factor. So CHI into Fy divided by gamma m0, so less than equal to Fy divided by gamma m0, where phi is nothing but the 0.5 into 1 plus alpha. Alpha is nothing but the imperfection factor, already we have studied in the previous point, into lambda minus 0.2 curve bracket complete plus lambda square. So this is phi value, where we know that lambda is nothing but the non-dimensional effective slenderness ratio. So this lambda we are going to find out, which is equal to under root of Fy divided by FCC. And this FCC value again we can write down, which is equal to Fy under root of Fy into KL by R whole bracket square divided by pi square into E, where FCC is nothing but the Euler's buckling stress, which is equal to pi square E divided by KL by R bracket raised to square. Then buckling class of cross section, if you refer the table number 10 of page number 44 IS 800 2007, so you can see the first roll steel section, roll steel I section. So this table is very important while solving the numericals on the basis of to find out the design compressive strength for the single double angle section for built up columns. It may be lace column or batten column. So if you go through the cross section first, known as a roll I section. So this roll I section is symmetrical I section about y axis, where thickness of flange is denoted by the TF and width of flange, either top flange and bottom flange, is denoted by the BF. Thickness of wave is denoted by the TW. But the most and important point here, the limitation is there. So we are going to satisfy or check the ratio, that is ratio of H divided by BF, means depth of I section for this rolls I section to the width of flange. If this ratio is greater than 1.2 and thickness of flange is less than equal to 40 mm, for that buckling about axis may we are going to consider about ZZ and YY axis. For that respective buckling class is A and B. Here already we have studied in the previous topic. So this ratio is, for example, greater than 1.2. So if you consider 1.8 and thickness of flange is less than 40 mm, means this roll steel section having thickness of flange is 30 mm, means which is less than 40 mm according to IS 800 2007. And buckling about the Z and Y axis, where the radius of gyration along Y axis is minimum, then and then will satisfy the lambda will be the maximum. For that we are going to select the buckling class B. If it does not may taking place, so there will be a second case. So thickness of flange less than 40 mm, less than TF and less than equal to 100 mm, where Z and Y axis according to that class is B and C. So this is particular we have studied or we have learned for a roll I section. And coming to next section, that is welded I section. So welded I section, so is nothing but the, here two flanges are there, bottom and top flange is joined by the wave section, and which is very thin in the thickness point of view. The condition behind of this welded I section, thickness of flange is less than equal to 40 mm. Means, for example, this thickness of flange is again 30 or 35 mm. So this condition particularly assigned or applicable for this buckling about Z and Y axis, where the class is B and C. If thickness of flange is more than 40 mm, where Z and Y axis and the buckling class is C and D. If third type of numerical may ask during in semester or end semester for 6 to 10 marks, if the channel section is there, symmetrical, unsymmetrical, angle section, T section or solid sections are there, then buckling may taking place about any axis. For we are going to select always buckling class C, that is 9C of page number 42. Here there will be no application of buckling class A, B and D. Only C section or table number 9C is applicable for channel section, angle section, T section and solid section. And the last case is built up member or built up I section. Again, buckling may take in place about any axis. Only class is applicable to 9C. So we are going to refer the table number 9 of buckling class C. Then design of strut. A compression member usually adopted for roof truss or bracing system and subjected to compressive force is known as strut member. These are smaller in length and subjected to light loadings. So this type of design strut where generally we are going to adopted in roof trusses, where this element or member who's having a length L, by applying these compressive forces, so deflection may take in place and the buckling of this column or member may take in place by reducing the length LE. Then design compressive strength of member is denoted by PD, is nothing but the effective cross sectional area AE into design compressive stress FCD. So always we are going to remember, so design compressive strength PD is equal to AE into FCD. Effective length for truss member shall be taken as 0.7 to 1 times of the distance between the intersections. Effective length for double angle discontinuous strut and which is placed back to back on gusset plate shall be taken as a 0.7 to 0.85 times of distance between intersection. So this point is very important. If you place two angle sections which is placed back to back and in between we are going to place the gusset plate. So but the word is very important, effective length for double angle section discontinuous strut, where we are going to adopt the effective length as a 0.85, that is a maximum value. And if we refer the in some previous cases, so we are going to adopt or according to the table number 11 of page number 45. Then angle section transferring compressive force may be eccentrically or concentrically loaded. Angle section loaded through the one leg. So flexural torsional buckling strength of single angle loaded in compression through one of its leg may be evaluated by using the equivalent slenderness ratio, that is denoted by lambda E as given below. So lambda E we can find out by using equal to under root of K1 plus K2 into lambda VV square plus K3 into lambda square phi, where K1, K2 and K3 are the constants depending upon the end supports or condition which is given in table number 12. So this is table number 12. So number of bolts at each end condition, if you are mentioning in the problem or numerical, if the bolt we are going to use more than 2 numbers, for example 3, 4, 5, so these conditions we are going to select. So gusset and connecting member fixity, so it may be fixed condition or hinge condition, so we are going to select the, if it is fixed condition, so K1 value we are going to select 0.2, K2 will be the 0.35 and K3 will be the 20. Likewise we are going to choose the row according to table number 12 IS 800 2007. If this number of bolts we are going to adopt is 1, then this second condition may be applicable to this slenderness ratio. while we are taking the value of K1, K2, K3. Then how we are going to find out the lambda Vv is equal to L divided by radius of gyration about Vv whole divided by epsilon, where epsilon is nothing but the yield stress ratio. So yield stress ratio is equal to again under root of 250 divided by Fy, and we know that value of Fy is 250, so which is equal to under root of 250 divided by 250. So yield stress ratio always 1, and lambda phi is equal to, so here why we are giving the different values, that is B1 and B2. So this kind of condition may applicable to double angle section whose unequal length is given. For example, unequal angle section is there who's having a leg A1 value, that is B1 equal to 100 mm, and B2 outstanding leg will be the 95. So addition of both leg, connected leg plus outstanding leg, so divided by twice of thickness of angle section divided by yield stress ratio epsilon under root of pi square into E, that is modulus of elasticity 2 into 10 to the power 5 divided by 250. So note down the some few points. So that is, note, for strut design problems assume FCD value 80 MPa to 90 MPa for single angle section. If it is double angle section, so FCD value we are going to assume 100 to 110 MPa. Thank you.